Oh, shit. I can't return it. I guess there's like a window of time in which you can return something on Amazon.
You should reach out to them.
Who do I call? Jeff?
Hi, may I speak to Mr. Bezos, please?
Hi, yeah, it's me, Allison. You think if you were going to ruin the world with your commerce, you'd let people return things in a different way. Welcome to Home Movies. I'm Alison Roman. Today I'm making a strawberry shortcake cobbler. A cobbler is...
A person who makes shoes.
Oh, okay, Dad. There's a cobbler, there's a crisp, there's, what is it, cobbler, crisp.
Pie?
Nope.
Skillet?
Nope. Pies and galettes are in one family, and then cobblers, crisps, and crumbles are in the other family. It's mostly a strawberry shortcake, right? It's strawberries, they're tossed in sugar, there are shortcakes involved, but I'm calling it a cobbler because everything gets baked at one time. This is exactly the kind of dessert that I would make if people were coming over or I was invited to a last minute barbecue or picnic or something, and it was like, oh, I only have fresh fruit and like some flour pantry ingredients. I can make this right now. It will be ready in a half an hour. I don't need any equipment and it travels well. The other component is the actual shortcake topping. The difference between a shortcake and a biscuit to me is in the flakiness. It should be tender. It should be almost like what you wish a scone was, which is good, and they always suck. Sorry, they do.
Why do scones always suck?
I don't know. I've been trying to figure that. I've been trying to crack that code for 10 years. Because scones want to be a shortcake and a biscuit at the same time. And they can't be. I don't care if there's like a bakery that has a great scone. Even the best scone is pretty bad. You never had a scone you like because scones are bad. Every time I have a scone, it's like made of the inside of a wall. Like it's so dry. It is impossible to eat. It's like I'd rather have a spoonful of cinnamon.
It's the inverse pizza. All pizzas are kind of good. All scones are kind of bad.
Yeah, the best sandwich is still never as good as the worst pizza. You know what I mean? Like
Are you willing to be public about your sandwich opinion, which I don't know if you shared
Not today.
to the world.
Not today. When I tell you what's in this closet, that's when I'll tell you what I think about sandwiches. Can I read from the phone? It's my script.
Yeah.
Not an actor, Dan. We interrupt this cooking segment for a very important message from one of my favorite companies of all time, All-Clad. Happy 50th birthday, All-Clad. I am so glad you exist. Obviously, like reading an ad is a very weird thing for me, but I don't really feel like I'm reading an ad because I genuinely feel like such a strong affinity for All-Clad pots and pans. They are virtually indestructible, and trust me, I can destroy anything.
Do you have a All-Clad pan you can show us?
This is the 12-inch stainless steel skillet, and believe me, you can do most everything in a 10-inch, but like the 12-inch is like going from a full bed to a queen bed. Just those few extra inches in the queen bed like really make a difference. That's how I feel about the 12-inch skillet. It just kind of makes sure that like nothing's gonna crowd. Vegetables, you know, cook super evenly. You can fit a whole bunch of pasta in here. It is just more room, and I feel really comfortable with that. You can check out allclad.com, and they have everything and more you could possibly want.
You should start cooking though. But let's.
I should start cooking. Yeah, sorry, this video is... All right, well, that's it. Good night. Thank you so much. So we're gonna preheat our oven to 350. I already did because I was cold, so let's pretend like I didn't. This is a very basic sort of shortcake dough, with the exception of the addition of cornmeal, which kind of gives like a nuttiness. It also gives you crunchy texture, and you don't need that much for it to contribute a lot to the final product. So there's 1 1/4 cup of flour. And I'm not gonna sift this or anything. I'm just going straight into the scoop and level. Maybe we should do a cornmeal PSA. When you go to a store and you buy cornmeal, sometimes they'll try and sell you like polenta or really finely ground cornmeal. This is just stone ground cornmeal, and it's not polenta. It's more finely ground than that. If you use something that's really coarse, it's gonna absorb liquid differently, and your end texture of the shortcake is gonna be a lot different. It adds flavor and texture, my two favorite things. I'm using brown sugar and white sugar because I think the brown sugar not only contributes to like a moister shortcake, but if you eat a little bit of sugar and a little bit of brown sugar, the brown sugar just has more flavor. It's like less one note. I also love the way that brown sugar looks when you measure it with a tablespoon. It gives you like a cute little thing. It's so sweet. It's like a little friend in there. Okay, I'm gonna just fold this brown sugar up. I'm gonna put it in my pantry. I'm gonna forget about it. And then the next time I go to use it, it's gonna be hard as a rock and I'm gonna be mad. You can put this in a resealable bag, but I also find it totally fine just to kind of put a rubber band on it and keep it tight. 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar.
Not as cute.
Definitely not as cute. Why can't you be more like your brother? 1 tablespoon of baking powder, which is a lot of baking powder for the amount of flour that we're using, but it is our only leavening. We need it for like our lift and our rise. And then what else? 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. Every dessert needs salt, no matter what you're doing. I've never written a dessert recipe that didn't have it. These are just the dry ingredients. So the flour, the cornmeal, light brown sugar, regular granulated sugar, baking powder, and kosher salt. And I'm just mixing it with my hands. This is 1 stick, AKA half a cup of butter. You wanna flatten the butter. You wanna smush it, but it feels like malleable and cold. It doesn't feel greasy or warm. You're like creating little pebbles. It helps me when I close my eyes. You're not putting the butter into the flour, you're putting the flour into the butter. With your index finger and your thumb, you're literally just crushing it, you're smushing it. Cooking is therapeutic, and I think that the more we involve tools and machines in our cooking, the less therapeutic it becomes. So if cooking is stressing you out, maybe you're using too many tools. Maybe you should unplug. Actually, that's a really good point. I've never said that before, but I mean it. There's something really wonderful about working with your hands. If I had to like get down a mixer and like you hit the button, it's like a crazy sound. That's jarring. If you have a baby that's sleeping, they're gonna wake up. But this is like that morning dove. Do you hear it?
I do hear it.
So this is what it looks like now. It's like sandy, nothing larger than a chickpea, really. I'm using a half a cup of heavy cream. You could use buttermilk in this, although buttermilk is much thinner. So I would use maybe a smaller amount. And I like to just kind of shake the bowl whenever I add like a liquid to flour, especially if I'm making biscuits or pie dough, just to kind of give it a head start. And then with my hands, just like very gently. You don't want to overmix it. You want to be pretty delicate here until it starts coming together in like what could be described as a dough. I like to do a majority of the mixing just in the bowl before I pat it out on the surface. Tastes good. Right? This tastes really good. So it'll look really crumbly, which is fine. And again, use your hands. Like use the heels, gather the dough. You don't need a rolling pin. If you had a rolling pin, sure, go ahead, use it, but it just makes it even. And it's also fun to do. Okay, this feels good to me. This is about 1 inch thick. I'm gonna use, that's about 2 inches. I'm gonna use a little glass, which is extremely cute. If you had ring cutters, you could do that too.
Everything okay over there?
If you want to flour your, why is this not, this is annoying. Oh, because it's a cup, so it's like creating like a vacuum. Okay, so we have a few cuties here. We have this scrappy situation, and we're gonna re-roll this until I've used all the dough. You don't need to be that gentle, but like this is sort of the reason why you don't want to overmix in the beginning, because you're gonna sort of effectively knead it again. If you wanted to just bake this topping part as its own thing, that would be awesome. And they're really delicious all on their own with like jam spooned over them. Like it's a really good base shortcake dough. So for strawberries, when I was working in a restaurant when I was 19, I had a chef who would examine each strawberry for how much I cut off. So we would cut them like to the stem because otherwise it would be perceived as wasteful, which I don't disagree with. But each strawberry kind of wants to be cut at a different place. But I'm like pretty mindful of how much stem I cut off my strawberry. So these are just getting cut in half. Again, we're not looking for like jammy, soupy, saucy fruit. We're looking for, you know, nice, intact, sort of chunky fruit. With this particular dessert, you can kind of use subpar strawberries, and that could mean like super in-season strawberries that are maybe like a little bruised, or, you know, have sat in your fridge for a week because you're not eating them fresh. You're giving them a little bit of time in the oven with some sugar. I always like to save my like perfect fruit for eating raw because it's so rare that you encounter like the perfect strawberry, the perfect peach, the perfect whatever, that I feel like doing anything other than eating it raw is sort of a shame. I think that we have like an obsession with fruit being constantly in season. Surely people that are watching this can remember a time where like you couldn't find tomatoes or strawberries whenever you wanted at the grocery store. And now you can, and if you can't, people are like, I can't find strawberries anywhere. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's February and you're in Michigan.
No, you're very granola for this episode. You're very like, realize that fruit shouldn't be available all year round.
And we should tax corporations.
Yeah.
We should.
Tax on corporations.
We should. Can't believe I pay more taxes than Jeff Bezos. If your fruit tastes very out of season, you can always add a tablespoon or two more sugar to compensate. Same thing with acid. I suggest adding lemon or lime juice to these strawberries because strawberries have very low acidity naturally compared to, say, a raspberry or a blackberry even. Taste your fruit, and if it's feeling like especially tart, like you don't have to add the full amount of lemon juice, or if you're like, oh wow, these are really in season and feeling very sweet, maybe add a tablespoon more. But the recipe that I've given you of like this, 2 quart strawberries, half a cup of sugar is like a pretty safe place to start. The cornstarch is to thicken the strawberries. If you didn't have cornstarch in this, it would be really runny and almost watery, and it wouldn't be that enjoyable to eat. I'm gonna just toss these together. You don't need to mix it. You just kind of want to mix until you don't see any dry parts. You could cook this in a skillet. You could cook it in a pie dish, a cake pan, a baking dish, any vessel you have that would fit the berries and the shortcakes. But for me, the important part is that it be more shallow than deep. If it's too deep, you're not gonna have enough room for the shortcakes, and the berries will just kind of like sit under there and get steamy and soggy. If you were feeling creative and you wanted to add something like orange flower water or like a few sprigs of like little thyme leaves, this would be a good time to add it. But I think that for me, strawberry shortcake is like perfect in its simplicity. And like the addition of cornmeal is sort of like enough to make it feel special. And they just go on top. You want to give them a little space because they are going to touch when they bake up. And then I'm going to brush the tops with a little bit of cream and sprinkle them with some sugar. I'll use demerara sugar. Well, I'll use brown sugar because I'm already using it. I just really don't want to open the box again. This is a really satisfying part too. You could use an egg, you could use cream, you could use buttermilk, you could use milk. These shortcakes aren't that sweet, so the additional sugar on top really does kind of help them. And if you get a little bit of sugar in the strawberries, like that's obviously fine because there's already sugar in the strawberries. I'm gonna put it in the oven. All right, and that's gonna go in for 25 to 30 minutes. I gotta say, this oven fucking sucks. I've been here a while in this apartment and I'm like, it's fine, I'm fine. It's fine that the oven is small. It's fine that I can only fit 1 gallon of milk in my fridge at a time. It's fine that I don't have a dishwasher. But like recently, I've been like, it doesn't feel fine. That I think is the biggest challenge when developing baking recipes because I'm saying, oh, bake this for 25 to 30 minutes. It's probably gonna take me closer to 35 minutes because my oven sucks. So please know that when I say to bake something for a certain amount of time, I'm doing my best to give you the best estimation of how I think you'll have success. But what you're looking for with this shortcake is golden brown tops, puffed shortcakes, juicy strawberries. I like to really take it there. I like to really, like, I mean it when I say golden brown. I'm not like, oh, light brown. I'm like golden brown. Like, I really golden brown. You know, I want that. How much time left on that timer?
30 seconds.
Let's pull it out. Ooh. Our shortcakes are puffed. They're golden. Like it looks like little biscuits. They're baked all the way through. The strawberries look a little bit cooked down, but you can still see like the whole berry intact. The juices look really thick. They've kind of bubbled up around the shortcakes and it smells amazing. Much like a pie, I like to let it cool a little bit because it settles the juices. I'm gonna whip some cream. You wanna get in here? Someone should get in here.
Like it's turning right now.
I know. It's happening. It's cool.
It is cool.
Cooking is cool. Woo! She's almost there. How long did that take? I bet the editor could tell us. I'm not even gonna season this with sugar. I'm gonna add a little salt though. Woo! What a satisfying situation.
Look at those peaks.
Oh, soft peak? Yes, please.
Miss, can I have a soft peak, please?
One soft peak coming up. Order in soft peaks. I think one person could easily eat 2 of these. It's not necessarily like 1 biscuit per person. It's more just like, ooh, baby. That was good.
That was a good dollop.
Thank you. It's gonna fall. Woo.
Did it fall?
Tender shortcake, juicy strawberry. It's so good. You would never be able to guess that these strawberries sucked before. They're great now. Isn't it wild that Patti Smith has a Substack?
Does she?
Yeah, like Patti Smith writes a newsletter. That's wild to me.
I bet it would be good.
I read it. It's a good Substack. She's a poet. Her writing is incredible.